war of air attrition continues. IDF now releasing footage of the destruction of a containment dome at the Arak nuclear reactor by a cruise missile. Huge strike by Israel on Iran that took place last night. Also hearing that Iran coming out saying, and Israel even come out saying, I should say, that Iran still has advanced missiles, and that only 65% of the missiles launched by Iran in the last 24 hours were intercepted by the country's Iron Dome system versus almost 90 the day before. So that's what an Israeli official told NBC News earlier today. What does that mean? Well, exactly what we told you yesterday here on the program when we said with General Flynn and we walked through the stockpiles of these air interceptor missiles that are being shot by Israel every night on the Iranian onslaught of the ballistics. So they come in. First of all, one key piece of this to keep in mind, those air interceptors are incredibly expensive. The cost of them, it far exceeds the cost of any one of these dumbfired missiles from Iran. And so, as General Flynn was saying, the precision targeting isn't necessarily there, but it doesn't need to be because the goal is an attrition to attrite, to degrade Israel's ability to defend themselves. And you do that through waves upon waves of missile strikes. And in fact, people are saying, well, why is Iran only shooting 1 or 2 or 3 missiles at a time? Well, possibly the reason is because they want Israel to fire off their expensive interceptor missiles and keep this going on and on to the point where they know they can't defeat the Iron Dome directly. So what are they doing? They're degrading Iron Dome. They're draining them of ammo, draining them of resources. This is a strategy, and we're seeing that strategy play out as Israel has gone from a 90% interception rate down to a 65% interception rate. We've got now, I want to bring on Kenny Cody from humanevents.com, the opinion editor there. Kenny, this breaking news just, I think takes everyone, of course, by surprise that President Trump has made this decision to call for a delay 2 weeks to allow for negotiations, discussion, dialogue, perhaps even a White House meeting. A White House meeting, by the way, that Mark Levin said should not happen, that Mark Levin came in and said that President Trump should not have any more meetings. And Mark Levin decided that it was his call that President Trump should not have any more meetings, as opposed to the actual commander-in-chief that we all voted for, because I remember who we voted for. His name was Donald Trump. It wasn't anyone else or any of these other figures. President Trump making his response to that pressure by saying, I want to wait another 2 weeks. Kenny, walk us through some of the initial reaction here and the tea leaves on why the president came out this way.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. We've always had a foreign policy in MAGA, and President Trump has always held it, of having peace through strength and prioritizing diplomacy, prioritizing having negotiations before we actually make a militaristic strike that's going to launch our relations into being violent, using bombs, using weapons. And people are not used to that. I don't know when the panicans are going to learn that this is a process. They did the same thing with tariffs. As soon as we have anything pointed, as soon as we have any kind of negotiations, everybody panics and say, well, we're going to go into nuclear war. We're going to go into war, and we want it. We want war. But you have to get President Trump time. Foreign relations and America First foreign policy is not about just coming to the table and negotiating from the outstart. We are now having some sort of rhetoric that is aggressive, that has strength to it, is a strong sort of rhetoric to bring Iran to the table, saying if bad things from America are going to happen, if you do not come to the table, agree to denuclearize, and assure that we're going to have a conversation that is going to be best not only for America but for the rest of the world. And that's what Mark Levin and others, neocons, Lindsey Graham, do not want us to come to table. Tom Tillis, that wants regime war and wants a regime change war in foreign policy, do not want it. They want us to bomb Iran. They want us to send our men and women in the military over there to fight on behalf of other countries. That's not what America wants. That's not what MAGA wants. We want Iran to come to the table, come to the the White House, meet with President Trump, and meet with the National Security Council to ensure that the most efficient America First foreign policy is going to happen. And that is not through nuclear war, that is not through World War III, and that is not the neoconservative foreign policy that Mark Levin and others want. We want an America First foreign policy, and that's exactly what President Trump has decided to do today, and allowing Iran to have time to come to the negotiating table and come to an agreement that will be America First and be a safe foreign policy for America and the rest of the world.
Well, and Kenny, I think you just encapsulated it there perfectly, that President Trump understands the threat of a nuclear Iran. He has clearly spoken out about this for years, but he also understands the threat of getting America into yet another prolonged war that these neocons, who can't even tell you the population of Iran or what the ethnic groups are, would do for Americans, American troops or others that got in. Plus, of course, this serious question about whether or not a strike on Iran would be the opening salvo into a greater war. I mean, certainly we can sit there all day long and talking heads can say, oh, it's just a strike on one facility. But, well, the enemy always gets a vote. And so the enemy could perhaps decide that they don't want to see it like that. And they would look at it as a strike into a wider war. So President Trump here pumping the brakes in a really big way, an absolutely stunning way